IT pros for the longest time, we've needed to be the generalists that understand how a lot of different things work. Because when something breaks, the first step is to find out where it's broken, like what part of the chain is actually broken. And so that means you need to know the compute, the storage, the networking, the database, that there's so many different aspects to an application. And applications are only getting even more complex.
Right.
And so you've needed to have a little bit of knowledge about all of these different things. And now that's going to supplement that knowledge. We're saving the experts for what they're experts at, and we're kind of automating some of the more surface level troubleshooting.
Welcome to Update and Restart, that show that goes ahead and checks your career for updates, downloads, and installs them. I'm Rick Claus.
And I'm Sonia Cuff. Today, we're going to talk about agentic operations, which sounds like this futuristic term, right?
I was going to say it sounds like a marketing term to me, actually.
It does. But what we're talking about here is not so much IT pros being replaced by AI, by getting these agents to do all of our work for us, but how we can expand and take kind of the next step from some of the ways we've been working with AI to do the tasks that we need to get done.
Okay, so we're kind of like augmenting the team, bringing additional members into the thing. I kind of like to equate this to if I need to go off and troubleshoot something or work on something and I don't necessarily directly have that expertise, I can call on Sally or Bob, whoever it happens to be able to help me, but it just happens to be an AI agent, that's all.
Yeah, that's right. And this is more than just giving that AI agent a problem to solve because we've gone and typed it into the chat. So look, instead of talking about it, let's just cut to the demo.
So here we've got the Azure portal once again. We have agent mode turned on as part of Azure Copilot. And then I want to call out, now this is, again, the monitoring area for alerts. And up in the right-hand corner, we've got an investigate. That is your first little bit of a hint about what this is going to be doing. But I've experienced 4 or 5 different API request failures. That's the alert that comes up, and we're used to seeing that. But the investigate is that new capability that specifically is talking about being agentic in nature. So take a look at this.
When you see an alert due to an incident, such as this API request failure, you're able to investigate it using an agent that has context in your environment, application topology, and typical patterns.
So notice here, it's gone up and it said, this is what I'm looking at. There appears to be some issues. I want to confirm these parameters. Let's go with a 2-hour window of observability. Look for any 7.1 issues that have popped up inside my monitors. Here are the resources I'm looking for. Does this all look good? And then there's a button that says start investigation. So basically giving it the command to go off and do stuff. But the big difference from the last time we looked at agents, where it was like troubleshooting one small thing, this is going to go out and completely look at all sorts of different inputs to be able to get stuff done.
As it begins investigation, it is correlating and reasoning across observability signals, across the application stack, including logs, metrics, alerts, app health, anomalies detected through ML models to arrive at a root cause for the incident.
Now, it's gone through and looked at all that data, all from that one context of what I asked it to, and it's built me an initial investigation result of, hey, this is what I think is going on, and it then also provides me all the supporting data and resources to take a look at as well.
That's crazy good. I mean, that is the kind of manual investigation that I would have done, right? Step 1, check your connected services, go and look at the logs for error messages. So it's not only doing all that, it's giving me really cool graphs.
Yeah, again,
I love the graphs.
I'm not a SQL person, but basically it's now determined there's a bunch of stuff going on with the database layer and with the SQL layer, and it needs to go and do more research and stuff.
It's not DNS?
Here, the agent is explaining that a traffic spike is driving a SQL connection pool exhaustion, leading to database connection pool timeouts and API failures. Analysis of the issue is in natural language on the left-hand side, along with recommendations on how to mitigate the issue, as well as suggestions for improving your code and monitoring coverage. This is complemented with detailed graphs and charts from the various tests that were carried out during the investigation. You can iterate with the agent through complex investigations and prompts such as,
now here it's going to basically now say, okay, let's go deeper. You know, you've told me that there's some problems with the API calls. You told me there is an exhaustion of SQL requests that are taking place that cause these errors. Go dig down further inside of it. So I'm prompting it to do even more and more research.
Such as break down the SQL exceptions and errors by type and frequency, allowing you to dig deeper and get specific evidence while preserving the context of the investigation. As you can use generic prompts for root cause analysis, you no longer need to write complex KQL queries or find the relevant dashboards. You can also provide additional input to expand the scope of an investigation to additional resources. In this case, this Redis resource we added is healthy and does not impact the remediation steps.
So it's given us recommendations. It's gone and given us additional context for what was going on the SQL side because it flagged it as an issue. But then I can even just, as I call it in this demo, go and say what additional stuff, is there something wrong with my Redis cache, which is not related to this particular error, but maybe it's connected, maybe it's not connected. So it's going to be able to do that next level of observability. Where it's getting this information from is from documentation, is from actual details about the resources from the monitoring logs across my entire workspace to be able to get this done. Again, a lot of context information, all within the realm of what I'm allowed to do and what I'm allowed to see.
Yeah.
The agent also helps you create artifacts such as creating an issue that can be integrated and managed into your existing ticketing workflows. This approach allows you to stay in your workflow while accelerating investigations of incidents.
I love that. So just like before, it has the ability to go through and then put all this with all the research, all the artifacts, all the content back inside of a central place that when Sally from Database World or Bob from Database World comes back from wherever they were, they can go and pick this up, or potentially I can go off and go deeper with it, with them in parallel, however, go off and do our normal troubleshooting.
Yeah, and that's really interesting because I think IT pros for the longest time, we've needed to be the generalists that understand how a lot of different things work. Because when something breaks, the first step is to find out where it's broken, like what part of the chain is actually broken. And so that means you need to know the compute, the storage, the networking, the database, that there's so many different aspects to an application, and applications are only getting even more complex.
Right.
And so you've needed to have a little bit of knowledge about all of these different things, and now that's going to supplement that knowledge, because I don't know much about Redis at all, but I don't need to bother the experts in those areas if I can fix it at a surface level, but then I can bring it to their attention and say, this is what happens, this is what we did, this is where it's at. Now, can you now investigate if we need any longer term changes so this doesn't happen again, or so you're aware of it to like future-proof it, or like whatever you're gonna do with it. But yeah, we're saving the experts for what they're experts at, and we're kind of automating some of the more surface level troubleshooting.
Right, so troubleshooting-wise, more specific to a particular issue, diagnose it, come up with a result, go ahead and validate and do it. This one gives you all the background research information, gives you the recommendations, but then just doesn't actually action it. It's giving me that information to share with somebody else. It's a slight alteration to your workflow, and that's where this whole concept of this term that I'm not really comfortable with, but we're using in the industry right now, which is agentic operations, as a way of changing the way that you're approaching getting the job done.
Naming is hard. I know what else we're gonna call it.
Absolutely.
So it's great, I really like that, but we know that it always works in the demo, and these are preview features, so do we have any good training or documentation around that now and as it evolves into being generally available?
You got it. So take a look at this over here. This is the documentation page for Azure Monitor, and they've got a section specifically about Azure Copilot for observability, which is what we looked at with that one button to start the investigation. And they walk you through exactly what the observability agent does, how it runs the investigation, the process for what it does to be able to create those results and that sort of stuff. So it kind of walks you through what you saw visually on the demo from a documentation perspective, as well as some best practices, the recommendations for how to get the most out of this particular feature while it's in preview, and also some troubleshooting in case things don't happen to work for you. So check out the URL below. You'll be able to have access to this and take a look at this as it progresses. And then obviously stay tuned for more updates as we go from preview into production.
let's talk about something a little bit lighter. Another term that we've heard bandied around is AI transformation. Are we all transforming our businesses magically in the next couple of months with AI?
We need to put $5 inside of a bucket someplace each time we say one of these words to be able to do this. Yeah, I've definitely heard the transformation term. And again, the way I've been approaching it is just a bit more practical for how I adopt AI technologies and how I use them to get my job done. And it's been, as I talked about in other episodes, another tool in the tool belt, how to augment your knowledge and everything else that's going on. But have there been cautionary tales from early adopters that have been doing some things with regards to transformational AI use inside their world from what you've seen?
I don't know, but I think what we're trying to get people to realize is that AI transformation is more than just putting a chatbot on your website.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Yeah.
You can't just do that and tick the done box that you've transformed your organization, especially when we know the duct tape behind the scenes of how organizations actually run.
Right.
So the more that we can start to embrace some of these tools and kind of improve and modernize the way that we work and the tools that we use as IT pros behind the scenes, it doesn't really matter too much what the business is doing with their speed of AI agentic stuff at the front end for the customer experience. Like, they need to do that, don't get me wrong. But also we have an opportunity to take advantage and embrace those tools for how we work. And yeah, that to me is the real AI transformation.
Got it. Okay, so what do you think? We want to give us some feedback, some ideas as far as what you think about AI transformation and your journey for what's going on? Hit us up with an email. Send us an email at updateandrestart@microsoft.com. Suggestions for topics, other different experiences, funny things you've seen on the socials that you think would be topical that we could include on the show. And you never know, you just might actually make it into one of these edits.
Great stuff. And with that, I think that's a wrap up. And